Hi, I'm Sherry Strong, and I'm talking about strong workplaces. This is workplace wellness programs that are building strong hearts and minds for healthy bottom lines. They're simple, affordable, and holistic. So, the cost of not doing well-being programs is becoming increasingly expensive for companies. For every dollar that a company spends on absenteeism, $3 is actually spent on presenteeism. So that's every dollar presenteeism costs $3. That's hugely expensive. Now, presenteeism, we all know what absenteeism, but presenteeism is defined where people are actually at work and getting paid to work, but aren't actually functioning properly. Now, that can be for a myriad of reasons, but it's usually lifestyle related. Now, according to the HBR study, the cost of lost productivity due to presenteeism reaches over $150 billion per year. And a study by Statistics Canada indicated that lost productivity from presenteeism was 7 times greater than productivity loss from absenteeism. So, depending on which study you're looking at, we know this is really expensive for businesses. Now, for some stress related issues such as heart disease, hypertension, migraines, and back pain, the ratio increased to 15 times greater. And here's an interesting thing to understand is that many of those conditions are not actually reported in the workplace. And in fact, many people who are actually experiencing the symptoms that come from these lifestyle diseases and stress related issues haven't even been diagnosed, so they don't even know why they're experiencing it. Now, the benefits to workplaces to invest in their most precious resource, their people, is becoming very apparent. Happy, healthy employees are 31% more productive, 87% more loyal. And it's interesting that a study that was done in 2013 with 10,000 people indicated that 87% of these people considered companies with health and wellness programs and benefits a significant factor in choosing an employer. People want to work for companies that care about them. So that loyalty factor is factored into that, and I just thought it was interesting. They're both around the 87% mark. Now, if people are feeling better, happier, and healthier, this is going to lead to higher sales. And some studies will show up to 37% increase in sales. 41% less mistakes made in production because the brain is thinking more clearly. The brain fog has gone away, and there's more synapses that are firing in the brain, which can all lead to, as some of the statistics are showing, 140% higher earning share for the company. Wellness program return on investment reports will vary depending on the program efficacy, which also depends on several factors, including workplace culture and leadership engagement. Now, one thing is for sure that most programs pay for themselves. Even the most modest reports report a return on investment of $1.50 for every dollar spent. And a Harvard researcher study has shown that the average wellness program has a 6-to-1 return on investment for every dollar spent. So with programs starting with as little as $27 per person, doing nothing is no longer an option for progressive companies or companies that want to actually be saving money. So you want to have engaging holistic programs that are tailored to your team. One of the number one reasons why wellness programs fail is because people will go in with a one-size-fits-all program, and it's usually around diet and exercise that doesn't shift behavior long term. It will do significant things if it's a good program for the time that it's running, but unless you start to work on the actual causes as to why people make the choices they're making, it's only going to have a very short-term benefit. So you want to have programs that are tailored, integrated, and that work and go beyond diet and exercise, okay? Because diet and exercise are hardware functions. They're the outward manifestation of making certain choices, but making those choices is really a software function. So you need a program that integrates how people actually think and how they can actually change behaviors internally motivated as opposed to externally motivated. Because without working on the software, any gains that you have in the hardware side of things, in weight, and physical measurements, will likely be short term, and it's unlikely that they're going to be sustainable. So you want to start to look at programs that are holistic, science-based, sustainable. Okay, so they include a holistic approach. So it's not just diet, it's not just exercise, but you're moving towards a holistic view of moving the body. A lot of people resist with exercise. So if we can switch to movement and making part of the program of ways they can actually integrate movement in getting their work done, the success rates tend to increase. If we can start to look at nourishment from an anti-diet perspective and get people to start to nourish themselves and start to remove toxic things, influences in their body, in what they ingest. And that can be not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Okay, so then we tie in the meaning purpose thing. We get people motivated from a deeper level than just the superficial. And as most people who are eating processed food are actually addicted to it, particularly sugar and the white foods like white flour, salt, and oils, we start to work on principles that work for addiction cessation. And some of the things we include with that, and most good workplace well-being programs work on mindfulness and mental health that will increase the chance of your program having success. Your programs also need to allow for the existing work culture. Going in and making assumptions about the work culture is not going to work. You also need to accommodate generational and cultural differences, which naturally happen in any workplace, particularly as we become more diverse as a work environment. And also understanding that everyone's in a different place. Not everyone, a program comes in and they're all gung-ho and they're all in the same place. So if you can accommodate different levels of motivation and belief systems, you can actually work with people who might have certain strengths in certain areas and weaknesses in other areas, and they are built up by other people who have strengths in the areas they're weak and are weak where the others are strong. A consideration also needs to be understood is that you have to have time and resources. You need to accommodate for people having different amounts of time and different amounts of resources to actually implement what it is that you're wanting them to implement or inspiring them to implement. Okay? And that there's going to be different existing levels of addiction and self-esteem that will also impact the efficacy of what it is you're implementing. But if you can have holistic programming with specific strategies that promote sustained engagement, that start to work not just on heart health, but emotional well-being, not just brain health, the nourishment to the actual brain, but mental well-being, and strategies for sleep hygiene, so people are actually getting sleep and repairing their body and waking up well rested to actually do the things they need to do to have overall well-being. And then movement and exercise, and of course, nourishment, diet, nutrition from a non-diet prescriptive approach is something that if you can start to integrate that as a program, you're going to have much more higher rates of people actually not just implementing the information while the program's going on, but long after the program has been initiated. So sample programs can include things like a 7-day sugar-free challenge, a 21-day return to food challenge. We can include anywhere from an 8-week online program up to a 10-month program that's monitored throughout the actual time that we're working together. And each week we can integrate live group support where people can have their questions answered, they can get reinvigorated and inspired, and they can share their wins, and they can also ask for support and help. I like to kick off my programs with a live cooking keynote. This is something I do at conferences, and it's a presentation where I show people how even the worst cook in the audience can actually prepare food better than an experienced chef like myself with the right tools and information. Everyone gets a copy of my book depending on which program that's actually been selected. They get a book that actually accompanies the information that they're learning, and we can even throw in a zoodle maker as part of the program, which makes the best zucchini noodles ever. And it's a lovely thing for people to get a kitchen gadget that makes their life in the kitchen easier as they're implementing these workplace well-being strategies. There are also online programs that provide live support, and throughout the program, and at the end we can actually create rewards and incentives for engagement that are fair and work for everyone, but really reward people who are actually doing the work and engaging in the program. And that's not necessarily dependent on weight loss, which is really important because a lot of programs work on physical measurements, and yet people can be implementing all kinds of hard work and having all kinds of benefits that don't necessarily show up on the scale. Now, program design is really basic. It's just meeting with HR management, then doing a workplace audit to determine the needs according to that meeting, then consulting with HR and key team members to see if the audit matches the program that they're interested in implementing. Then a program proposal is given, program selection and approval is made, then the program commences, the introductory presentation and outline to initiate the program so everyone knows what they're meant to be doing. And then there is the online program that's initiated. People get their login, they get their times for live coaching that happens throughout the program. And then once the program concludes, there's a post-program debrief and reporting. And I highly encourage a third-party pre- and post-program measurement and data to be included, just because human and unconscious bias can actually affect things that outside and a third party. Then you have your results that are very easy to have clear, actionable incentives to then go on and do more programs should you wish to do that. So with keynote speaking, I've been doing this for over 20 years around the world. And recently you can see this testimonial from Margaret Mollica from the OGCA board. I spoke at their conference last year. And she will actually testify to the fact that when I'm presenting, I'm entertaining, I am passionate, and have extensive knowledge, having worked in this industry for almost 30 years and have been studying almost 40 years. And the bottom line is that I have the information not just to enlighten people, but to help people understand how it is that they're meant to be eating as the human species, and as well as the understanding the psychology behind making those choices and changes in their life. So it's not just a blast of information, it's a very holistic, integrated presentation. Some of the speaking topics that I can incorporate throughout the duration of the program is Eat to Lead. We can talk about sugar in the workplace and the nourished mind. So this is something that's super important, that we have businesses that are providing an environment where people's minds are nourished so they can actually bring a healthy brain and body to the workplace. Corporate retreats can also be included, and with past clients like Theo Fleury and Brett Wilson, you can actually see that the work that I've done with them not only helped them, but I worked with their families as well, as they were overcoming chronic and life-threatening conditions. So Brett Wilson, who is an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and was on the Dragon's Den, will tell you that I get that he has an extremely active and busy life, and that he doesn't fit into a cookie cutter prescriptive approach. And the work I've done with him, I also do with workplaces, and that I tailor it to suit the environment. And that I take a conceptual and a philosophical approach that makes all this ton of conflicting nutritional confusion into very sensible and practical wisdom, so that people can actually apply this in their way of life. And what Theo Fleury, NHL hockey legend, said about working together is what he loves about this approach is that I use the philosophies and strategies and concepts that just make sense. And they help you reframe your thinking in a way that motivates you from the inside. And I give you the tools so you can actually be self-motivated and don't feel like you're missing out, which is really important. If you're looking to see past clients that I've actually worked for, this is just a partial client list. Also the media that I've been featured in on television and print media, radio, and TEDx Tokyo. My TED Talk's almost at 600,000 views so far. And the other thing to keep in mind is that I've written 3 books. I've done 7 different television pilots and DVDs, and we have things like the Zoodle Maker that can be used as rewards and gifts and incentives. There's lots of ways to incentivize people that keep them engaged in the program, and that's really important. Engagement is absolutely important. So if you're looking for a workplace well-being program that is integrative, it's holistic, and it's tailored to your workplace, I would love to have a conversation with you. I'm really all about building strong hearts, strong minds for healthy bottom lines, and my details are here. If you would like to give me a call, feel free to call me or email me. I'd be happy to organize a time so we can actually see what program would be right for your workplace. If you are interested in helping your team succeed and increasing the bottom line of your business, give me a call.